October 2024, Irene and I traveled to Central Europe. For the fall semester, I'm on sabbatical leave, which isn't a vacation, but rather it's just a release from teaching courses, allowing for travel for more than just a weekend. We chose Central Europe because Triering folks from there have visited Tucson and have been expecting a return trip to visit them. So, Poland, Czech Republic, and Austria, all new countries for us, and all countries with music to experience, an added bonus. Warsaw was first. Wojciech visited Tucson in 2022 when we enjoyed field trips and Waffle House. In Warsaw, I toured his university and gave a seminar on Triering work of mine. We got our first look at what would be a common sight in all three countries, central plazas with tall, narrow buildings painted in different colors, an architectural motif of the region, very photogenic. We saw mermaids everywhere, the logo of Warsaw, made into a patch, much to my delight. The Museum of the History of Polish Jews was interesting and necessary. This history is long, over 1,000 years. By the 1930s, Poland was a population center for European Jews, but they became a primary target of the Holocaust. Warsaw lost almost 90% of its total population during World War II, and the few Polish Jews who survived the war wound up moving away. A monument commemorates the Warsaw Ghetto and Uprising, an event that has its own symbol. The movie, The Pianist, depicts Warsaw during World War II. Really good, but caution, quite graphic with the war scenes. Today's global Jewish population lives mostly in two countries. Poland doesn't even have its own slice on this pie chart. Speaking of piano, Poland is synonymous with one of the finest pianists ever, Frédéric Chopin. His birthplace is a short drive from Warsaw, and the gardens there are delightful. October is recommendable for fall colors, really nice. Chopin piano recitals are offered constantly in Warsaw, so we attended one. The music and the playing were terrific. Warsaw, an essential destination. Wrocław was next. Asia, a grad student in Dendro, visited Tucson in 2019 to attend our intensive summer course. Among other skills she gained was dendrochemistry, an interest of mine. In Wrocław, I toured her university and labs and reprised my talk. We got in a half day of field work. I always feel at home in a new place just by stepping into the woods. A nice bird sighting, the great spotted woodpecker, very attractive. Wrocław is highly photogenic with many churches and monuments. We climbed many of these towers, catching the plaza architecture from above, as well as sweet sunsets. Chopin recitals are given nightly in Wrocław also, so we attended another one. It was in this gigantic church, off to the side, where a baby grand piano is on hand. Just 10 seats for the audience, so we were right next to the musician. Incredible being so close to such excellence. The River Odra bisects Wrocław and creates nice photo ops. This university has ornate rooms, the likes of which don't exist in Arizona. And Wrocław is known for small statues of dwarves. Here's an orchestra, but my fave was Sisyphus. Wrocław, unknown to us before this trip, but a real treat to have spent time here. Prague was next. I hadn't previously met Triering people in Prague, but seemingly everyone goes to Prague at least once in life, so we did too. The university has a Triering group, and they hosted me for my talk and get-to-know-you discussions. Thanks, Václav and the whole group. And it turned out I had met some of the Prague dendros before. These two researchers attended lectures I gave years ago in Mexico City and Bolivia, so we had an impromptu reunion in Spanish. My gift to the dendro groups on this trip was a Sonoran desert breakfast, i.e. mesquite pancakes and prickly pear syrup. Common fare in Tucson, this gift idea was unique in all three countries. Nightly concerts are given in Prague, and we chose a recital of soprano-baritone singing, backed up by a gigantic organ. The concert hall was yet another richly adorned church, pleasant to be in and outstanding acoustics. Before the concert, the river sunset was photogenic, and afterwards, even prettier. Yes, everyone should visit Prague at least once in life. An unplanned stop in the Czech Republic was Brno. The university, named for Gregor Mendel of P genetics fame, has a Triering group, so I introduced myself and gave my talk. Another collegial discussion on dendro with new acquaintances. Thanks, Vladimir, and to the group. Afterwards, we strolled Brno to see the usual epic churches with cavernous interiors and aerial views from the towers. Trips like this are usually tightly planned, but every now and then it's nice to have surprises. Vienna next, the original destination chosen for this trip. Rupert visited Tucson in 1994 when we bonded at the International Conference on Dendro, as well as during the North American Dendro Field Week. I promised Rupert I'd visit him someday in Vienna, and now, 30 years later, promise kept. Rupert's University hosted one more rendition of my talk, and once again, it was charming talking Dendro with old and new friends. Rupert and I have less hair now than in 1994, but the passage of 30 years hasn't dampened our shared interests. Our reunion in Vienna was outstanding. Music was especially important in Vienna, which is synonymous with music. For example, the Viennese equivalent of our Hollywood Walk of Fame has stars for Verdi and Bruckner. Not bad. Our concert in Vienna was a greatest hits of Mozart, held in a beautiful venue, with the musicians wearing period garb, downright enchanting. Vienna might be most renowned musically for its boys' choir, so we took in a concert by them in a hall made for the VBC in particular. We also attended a rehearsal of boys' choir alumni, now grown men, in part because Rupert's son is a VBC alumnus. I was handed music and invited to participate, which was thrilling. This men's choir is fantastic, an honor to rehearse with them. See the link below for their rendition of Loch Lomond. Salzburg is close enough that day trips are run from Vienna, so we did that to visit sites of The Sound of Music, such as the church where the wedding scene was filmed, and the gazebo where Liesl was 16 going on 17. Irene knows all the songs of The Sound of Music, so it was a sing-along kind of day. Back in Vienna, we strolled the cemetery where many of the great composers are resting. Mozart and Beethoven were givens, but others are here too, as well as a famous scientist, Mohs, whose scale of the hardness of things is taught in Geology 101 courses. My principal focus in the cemetery was Johannes Brahms. We had been in the Brahms concert hall already, so his headstone completed the set. I'm enamored of his short songs, known as the Liebeslieder waltzes, which can be sung by choruses or smaller ensembles. Rupert sings in his own Austropop duo, so I asked if he'd sing a couple Brahms waltzes with me. Austropop isn't Brahms, so Rupert wasn't familiar with these waltzes. No problem, as I have the karaoke files needed to make singing Brahms easy. After a few run-throughs, we sang and recorded 2 waltzes. See the link below to that video. Singing with Rupert in Vienna was a musical highlight of the trip for me. Thanks, Rupert. Beyond all the dendro and architecture and music experienced on this trip, we also saw examples of heroism by regular folk. In Warsaw, Jan Karski risked everything to aid Polish resistance to Nazi occupation and to inform the world of the Holocaust. In Wrocław, infrastructure that was massively damaged during World War II was restored. In Prague, Nicholas Winton helped save hundreds of children from World War II by evacuating them to Britain just before the Nazis took over the city. See the movie One Life for that story. Also in Prague, peaceful protests known as the Velvet Revolution ended one-party rule and opened the way for democracy. In Brno, peaceful negotiations known as the Velvet Divorce, conducted while sitting under a tree, resulted in the amicable split of Czechoslovakia into 2 countries, without resorting to civil war. Imagine that. And in Austria, The Sound of Music wasn't just a good film. Georg von Trapp was real. His second wife really was named Maria, and the Trapp family really could sing. Captain von Trapp opposed Nazi annexation of Austria and refused to cooperate with Hitler, which put him and his family in grave danger. They fled their homeland and thereby avoided certain death. After the war, they created the Trapp Family Austria Relief Fund to help Austria recover. We are fortunate to have had this opportunity to visit Central Europe. Thanks to all who met us along the way, and thanks to Irene for trip planning and logistics.